Hello and welcome back. So in the previous video, we looked at variables declaration and then look at certain values that each variable could contain, the rules governing variable names, and then some interesting things about variables, how to print the variables and how to print the type or know the value that the variable is holding or the data type the variable is holding. So in this video, we would go more into it, see how we can use the variable to do some computation, and as well look at an interesting print function, which is the printf or the formatted string, right? So let's start. So as always, I'm going to create a new file. So this time, let me use the Explorer. I click on new file here, and then I name it 5 dot variable example variables eg.py, right? So now I'm here. So now I can close this Explorer and then have this file here. Let me close this one too as well. Okay. So now that I'm here, all I have to do is make sure that the environment I'm using is the scientific Python. If you check here and you see that this is not using any specific environment, you can click on it. It comes here and then you choose the environment. So here you see that you have 3.11.3 and then scientific environment here. So you click here to use that one, right? So always make sure that that environment is activated. So now here to look deeper, let's assume that we are supposed to solve a problem in physics, right? Where we are supposed to solve the final velocity and then the given the initial velocity, the acceleration and time taken for a journey. All you have to do is that we know that according to Newton's law of motion, V is equal to what? U plus AT, right? AT. So if that's true, then it means that you have V to be our final velocity, right? So first things first, you have let what? V be equal to the final velocity. As I said, if you want to use single values in your code, then you have to define them in comments so that the next time you look at this code or anybody else that looks at this code would know that this variable or this single letter represents this, right? Okay. So initial velocity and then A represents for the acceleration and then T time, the time taken, right? Then using that one, then we can say that if if U is equal to maybe 10 meters per second, 10 meters per second, and acceleration is equal to 2.4 meters per second squared, and the time taken is what? 2 seconds, then, sorry, is equal to, bear in mind that this equal to you are seeing here is the assignment operator, right? Then V will be given as what? We calculated as U plus AT, right? AT. But then Python doesn't understand this, right? This type of multiplication. So you have to explicitly tell it that A is multiplying T. And to do that, we use a star, right? The star does the operation. So we have addition and then we have star for multiplication, right? So you have this one here. So now it means that when Python gets here, it assigns the value 10 to the variable U, creates a space in memory for that, and then assigns the value 2.5 to the variable A, assigns the value 2 to the variable what? T, right? And then when it gets here, it does this computation, goes to the variable U location, picks that value, then picks the value from the A and the value from the T, does the multiplication, adds it to the U. Then when it's done, it assigns that value to the variable U, or it stores it temporarily in the space created for the variable V, right? So then when we save this file and run it, all I have to do is do Python and then 5 that. But then when you run, you see that we don't get any output, right? This is because we didn't ask it to print anything. It doesn't mean that it hasn't processed, it does. But if you really want to see an output in your terminal or on the screen, then you have to say print v, right? So if you print v, now, if you print v, it shows that, or now we see that, what? When we rerun this code, we see the 15.0 here for us. So basically, this is how we make use of these variables in some of these basic computation, right? But this is just by the way. Now, one more thing is that if you want to declare a comment in Python, we use the hash, right? So you could see that all this code was not executed. It wasn't read. Actually, it didn't, Python did not actually process this. It overlooked these lines here, right? And if you want to do multiple comments, then you can use the third triple quotes like this. And then anything you put here, multi-line comments, won't be regarded by Python as well. So this will be a quotation in Python. This would be a comment, right? So either you use this for multiple comments or use the hash for inline comments. So this is very important in your codes because it will talk to you in the future when you come back and revisit this code. Okay, so I'm going to comment this computation out and do something more interesting, right? So now we've seen the basic use of the variable in some basic mathematical computation. Let's move further and see what else you can do if I have a variable called message and then I store a message. I am Sedem, and so then move to the next line and say I am, and I am the better form of awesome. Better form of awesome. Right. Here, if we decide to print the message, we can see that we have this printed. I am Sedem and I am the better form for some printed. What if we want to print something else, right? You see that this passage or this message holds, this message variable holds this whole string, right? The message string for us. We could also statically type this or copy this whole thing and then paste it inside the print function, right? We could also just say print and then we paste the message inside it. And then this should also do the same thing for us, right? But then what if I, for instance, want to keep changing the name here? I can't always be typing sedem here, but I could just declare a variable called name, right? And assign any name at all I want to it. So maybe Paul, right? So now if I have Paul here, then the next question is how then do I include this name here? There are different ways of doing it, but one of my preferred ways is to use the formatted string. So formatted string in Python. Formatted string in Python. I think it came around Python 3.6 upwards. So if you have Python 3.8, 3.10, your version is supported. So the formatted string is basically also known as the fString in Python. So all you have to do is do f, and then you put your message inside the quotation. So you do f and then your message here. And then now all your variables will be placed inside a curly bracket, right? So you put your message, let's say hello, something, and then you continue typing your message. I am 8 years old. So another variable name here. Here. So basically that's the use of formatted string. So to use the same thing or to apply this, all I have to do is add f here, and then instead of hard coding the name here, I can just use the name variable I defined on top here. So this time if I save and I run this file, I see I am Paul and I am the better form of awesome. If I change this name to Bodman, and I save it, then I get I am Bodman and I am the better form of awesome. If I change it to Bakar, I get what? I am Bakar and I'm the better form of awesome. So you can also add, there's another variable called age here, and then assign age to maybe 34. And then this time I want to say I am 34 years old. So I am age years old. So you can do age years old. Then when you save, you get I am Bakar and I am 34 years old. So basically this is how we make use of the formatted string. The older version of it would have been print, then message. So I would have brought the message here. I am Bakar. Let's say I am. Then you make a space for this one, and I am another 1 years old. Years old, and then you do dot format, and then you add the variable name. So name, comma, age. This would have been another way of doing the same thing, right? Now here, I expect that when I run this code, I should get the same thing. I am Bakar and I am 34 years old down here, right? So basically this is it, but I always prefer the formatted string. Most of this comes in handy if you want to print your desired output nicely in a well formatted way, where you include variable names and then print the value straight up aside the long way. So basically this is it. We looked at how to declare some variables and then use them to do some basic math computation. And then we also looked at how to call variable names of the value of the variables inside our print function alongside other messages. So I hope you've learned something in this video. If you do, don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends so they could also learn something from this video. And then as always, we can't wait to see you in the next one. Thank you.